Callie went to high school at a private school called the Salisbury School. During her time there, during high school, they would go on trips to several different locations for a week. It was her senior year, and there was one trip in particular that really stood out to her. She didn't want to stay home, and she didn't want to go on college tours, and she had already picked her favorite college. So there was a trip going to Spain, and they were going to visit 3 different areas. She was close to the teacher that would be heading up the trip, and she not only had been her teacher, but she was someone she also trusted. So Callie talked to her about the trip, learning more details of what would be going on and what they would be seeing. The day came when they picked out their top 3 trips. She wrote the trips down on a piece of paper and hoped she got her top, which was Spain. The wait to hear back wasn't long, and she got her top choice. Callie was not only going to Spain, but the teacher needed one more chaperone. So she got permission and asked her mother if she could go on the trip with her. So Callie and her mother were going to Spain. The trip was mainly for students who were in the higher Spanish, but since it was her senior year, Callie got an exception. The trip was only a week, so they left a few days earlier than everyone because of the time travel. The flight was grueling. It was 8 hours long, and it seemed like forever. They arrived in Madrid, which was their first stop. In the afternoon, they were fighting the jet lag and the time difference, and it was hard not to fall asleep when they got to the hotel. So they all decided to leave and walk around Madrid for a little bit. Around their hotel were beautiful architectures and little shops and restaurants that they roamed around in for a while. In those short few hours of walking around, Callie could tell that the trip was going to be such an amazing experience. She then knew that she was going to be traveling to Madrid, Cordoba, and Sevilla. Once everyone got up, they got ready, got breakfast, and met their tour guide outside. Vera was very chipper in the mornings, which wasn't so nice for Callie and her friends. They walked over Madrid and saw so many different attractions, and they tasted so many different kinds of foods. The architecture in Madrid was very detailed. They saw many street performers, and some of them were interesting. There was one in particular that Callie did not like. It was a street performer dressed up as a baby in a stroller. The only part of this person you could see was its head, and you were left wondering where the rest of its body was. It was a very well thought out performance, you could say. However, it would follow you around and talk in this little high-pitched voice that was just too hard to forget. Once they finished, it was the afternoon, so they decided to grab lunch. Got lunch, hung out with their friends, and then they went back to the hotel. They did some more sightseeing the rest of the night, and they got back to the hotel and fell asleep. Their next stop was Cordoba. Vera talked for the first part of the tour bus about the history and what they would be seeing in Cordoba. Once they got there, they checked into their hotel and did some sightseeing. The town of Cordoba was absolutely beautiful, and everyone there was so welcoming. The building structures were so original, and the details on the building were so colorful. In the night, they went on a boat ride, which went around all the architectures and buildings. After the boat ride, they had time to spend on their own, so Callie and her mom ventured off on their own. It was a very terrible mistake at the time. However, they both ended up finding the heart of Cordoba, which held very modern stores and seemed to be where all the young adults spent their day. One of the best memories Callie had about Cordoba was being able to make their own tapas. Tapas is one of their main food courses. It's just little foods and easy to eat foods. So among all the different and unique things about Spain, Callie realized that the hospitality was one of them. She realized that it was so different than America because they didn't rush for their order and they didn't rush for them to leave. They left you alone, which was a great experience for Callie because they got to spend intimate time with her teachers and her mom. So they left and went home and went to bed. Their last stop was in Sevilla. They spent time at the attraction where Star Wars was filmed, which is a really neat. They realized that they had only missed the bullfighting by 2 weeks. Everyone was like, no, that's so unfair. Let's just stay until they have one. Of course they couldn't. So they went back to the hotel, and that was their last night in Sevilla. So they traveled back to Madrid in the morning, catch their flight, and went home. Callie realized that it was so special to spend that time with her mom and her teachers and her friends. And she realized that there are things in America that are so different and the culture is very diverse, but she was so glad that she had this experience.